Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
Yeah, it's time for another daily dose of Dismal Disney. I guess we're going to talk about Bob Iger, Time Magazine, again for the second time in what, a week, 2 weeks?
I don't know, but as we've told you before, the person who owns Time Magazine also owns Salesforce, who has a deal with Disney. They are working together. They have a deal since 2021. They work together to help marketing and different people of the future for their Studio Lab innovation partner.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about this. This is Time Magazine doing another running damage control, running PR.
Wait till you hear some of the comments
for Bob Iger. They have an interview with him, and yeah, again, the owner of Salesforce is the owner of Time Magazine. They have a deal with Disney, and this is like the biggest puff piece. Well, we thought the last one, Bob Iger outsmarting DeSantis, was a big puff piece. This one puffs harder.
Does it puff harder though? I don't know. There's a lot of puffery.
There's a lot of puffery here. So we're going to talk about this because this tells me the fact that they're doing this kind of damage control like every week, every other week, tells me things are not fine. Things are not
right.
Good
so
right now.
We'll read their comments and Iger's comments, and I will interject my comments along the way.
Yeah, yours will be a lot more emotional, I'm sure. Bob Iger, it's hard to tell in this one. They're throwing some softball questions at him, but he also seems stressed. He seems, I don't know.
Well, they're talking about how calm he is.
No, I don't think he is. I think there's panic at the Mickey Mouse disco.
I agree.
So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. If you subscribe, you'll get a woohoo from Geeky.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there you go. And
hot darn.
Hot diggity darn.
That's right.
This is coming from Time, of course. Bob Iger on Ron DeSantis, creativity and the future of Disney.
He only mentions DeSantis at the end. Just wait till we get to that part. That's all. That's very entertaining.
Yeah, and they go into a whole thing like, oh, on the day of the shoot, Iger's fresh off of a recent round of victories. Disney stock price is up
9%. Yeah. See, it was at $113 before. Now it's back to 100, but it's been like in the 90s most of the time. Yeah. So it isn't exactly up.
No,
not like it was.
Not compared to where it used to be, and I think a lot of people were trying to look at.
That's pushing it.
So they're talking about how he effected a round of cuts whose victims included that jerk Ike Perlmutter.
I still love this. We're talking about Chapek, and his dismissal came on the heels of a meeting in which he could not find the appropriately sober but optimistic tone to reveal to shareholders that Disney had lost billions more than expected on its streaming service. We said it many times, Chapek was too honest for his own good. So basically, he didn't just smile and lie to the shareholders and scared them.
Yeah.
He didn't do what Iger does and lie.
Yeah, so, if Iger is telling you what you want to believe, just realize that things are probably 10 times worse than what he's letting on, just because that's the way he rolls. But yeah, they're talking about he outmaneuvered the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis.
Oh, he got rid of Ike Perlmutter because, this person's very obsessed with DeSantis and Perlmutter, as you'll see.
Yeah, so this is another political-minded activist journalist, I'm sure, How surprised are you to find yourself back at the helm of Disney? Probably not very surprised.
No, I think he was talking to him on the phone all the time.
Yeah, people thought he was running Disney from behind the scenes. He was the Phantom Menace at Disney. What's your prime responsibility? The company went through a difficult period exacerbated by a global pandemic. More than anything, the company needs stability. Needed to establish a set of priorities and focus on them.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah. So they're like media companies going through a turbulent time.
Yeah, because people are tired of their shit and aren't listening to him anymore.
Yeah, it's talking about how Steve Jobs went through something similar. Again, his buddy Steve Jobs, and there's been a rumor that the main goal, and again, this is a rumor, this is tinfoil masters.
That rumor's been around for a while.
That before it's all said and done, Bob Iger might try to negotiate a deal that would have Apple buy Disney.
Well, he was on the Apple board for years.
Yes.
And it was funny because he was helping Apple pick the name Apple Plus.
Yeah. Well, that's really hard,
Disney,
right?
But with
right?
Disney, Disney Plus, it was like there's a conflict of interest there, I think. So he's talking about like how they called him back, and we heard this before. His wife was one that said, "Well, if they're calling you back to go, all that. That's neither here nor there."
Yeah, this is all. How does it feel to be back, Bob?
Okay, so now here's where it gets up, going here.
Here's where the mouse shit gets real.
That's right. So one of the tasks in front of you is to save $5.5 billion in Disney's annual budget. which again, Chapek announced the cuts first.
Yes. Yes.
Is there any part of that process that can be creative? Well, the $5.5 billion was a number that we came up with that we thought was not only achievable, but was necessary to the bottom line success of the company. Necessary. Basically, well, we're not going to tell you that shit's got real, but shit's got real. And that's why Nelson Peltz had a footing. And he was an actual threat, or they wouldn't have agreed to do all these cuts.
Yeah, I think things are much, much worse at Disney than they're letting on. I do. And then we're seeing, a lot of their movies striking out at the box office. And we're going to do another video today talking about Nintendo and what that means for the future of the MCU. It's not good. And yeah.
And in many respects, it does force a discipline and a focus and maybe a sense of urgency. And I think that can result in, I wouldn't say necessarily creativity as much as resourcefulness to focus on what's possible, what's necessary. All I'm getting for this is shit got real. We had to make cuts. That's basically what he's saying.
Right. And it also tells me that for all this talk of creativity, they're not going to focus on creativity very much because right now they got to do what they got to do to pay the bills. That's
basically, But we're going back to creativity and then announce another live action remake. So go ahead, you can read the next one.
No, it's like it's so weird. So then we're going right back to this. Okay, well, he basically said we got to do what's necessary, not what's necessarily creative. Your reorganization of the company puts a lot of the control back in the hands of creators.
Which is your signature. Yeah, I want to point out something though, and this gets brought up in here. They keep saying we're going to give more control back to the creative sectors. However, if you listen, every time they say it, there's a caveat with it. They get more control, but they're also going to have to be accountable. So with that extra control and that extra say, if it doesn't work, it's your head on the chopping block. That's basically what he's been saying this whole time, but no one seems to catch that. We've mentioned it though.
Yeah, I think what he's doing is he's basically setting a trap for the people that want to produce stuff that doesn't perform. And this is how he gets rid of them. And he can be like, hey guys, just so you know, if you don't perform and you want to go ahead with this movie and it's a massive failure, or you want to make changes to this franchise and it costs us money, we're just going to look at the numbers.
Then why the hell is Feige and Kathleen Kennedy still in charge?
Maybe he's letting them hang themselves. I don't know. He said if you're the manager of creativity, it's absolutely necessary that you have complete accountability for the results of the creativity that you're managing, not just in terms of revenue generation, but in terms of how much you spend on what you create, how much you spend to bring it to market, not just distribution costs, but marketing costs.
Right, which is funny because they never rolled marketing costs into these films and things like that. They're just like, it cost us this much to make and how much to market.
I think this is how you cull some of the people that want to produce content that's not going to appeal to a general audience or is going to alienate existing fan bases. It's like, fine, if you have an obligation contractually or whatever to let them do what they want, fine, you go do your movie, you go do your TV show, and when it fails, you're done.
One of the things that is most important for those managing creativity is a very, very defined and very, very tangible feedback loop. That tells me everything.
Yes. So,
you need to have that. You need nothing's defined. It's you need like a rubric of what you're going to say these things are, because it's just everybody blowing sunshine up each other's asses.
You made some news by firing Ike Perlmutter. Everybody's so giddy about that. He is still the single largest shareholder at Disney.
I want to point out besides, yeah, that's true. I want to point out though, too, Perlmutter, he is one of many cuts coming.
Yeah.
And there are going to be a lot of people who aren't executives who are going to get cut next. So maybe not, you focus so much on Perlmutter and maybe worry so much about all the people who are not Perlmutter who are going to lose their job, but because you have personal beef with Perlmutter.
So this was a necessary step in the direction of us creating a more efficient company. There was redundancy.
Yeah, he got in your way.
Yep, specifically in the way that Marvel's being managed.
There was a power struggle with Marvel, so he got rid of Perlmutter.
And also Victoria Alonso.
Right, that's true. And that means, they don't mention Victoria Alonso.
They do not mention Victoria. Because she's on the right side of history. We can't throw her under the bus.
The receipts are this. The Marvel movies are falling off a cliff and no one cares. You put subpar films out. People are tired of it. You're changing characters for no good reason. You're putting focus on things that, like, for modern audiences that nobody wants, except for these voice boxes over at headquarters that are trying to yell and scream about everything. And then so you got rid of Alonso because she was stalling it up, and you got rid of Perlmutter too because they were speed bumps to getting stuff done. But that not necessarily a good thing because now only one voice is going to be put out, and it's not working. It clearly isn't working now. So don't double down on stupidity. But you are. Look at Ray.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Star Wars, but it's the same thing.
Well, to go back to what he said, you are responsible. You're responsible for how much it brings in and all of that. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Star Wars. But the thing is Kathleen Kennedy's making plans that are years out. You're not going to see the results of any of the stuff that was announced for years. But you can look at every year and be like, how are those Star Wars toys selling?
Even earlier in the article, they were talking about, oh, well, he was off his victories, and among them was, oh, his franchise is doing so well, but they aren't. Marvel's down the shithole. Star Wars is heading down the shithole.
Pixar has become direct to DVD, basically.
And then other options you have out there, like Little Mermaid has been a big controversy, and then Peter Pan and Wendy. People are just like, what the hell is this?
I can just picture like Captain America sitting down and be like, so you let activists run your company.
Well, wait, he gets here. So the campaign that Perlmutter championed to get activist shareholder Nelson Peltz. I love how he's the activist shareholder, but everybody else are just innocent victims.
Yeah, right.
On the board didn't play into the decision at all. And he's like, no, we're going to make that decision either way.
Yeah, there was friction between Perlmutter and Feige. There has been for years. Perlmutter throws his weight around because, again, he's the largest single shareholder at Disney. He doesn't have as many shares as, some of the hedge fund company, investment firms, whatever, but he has a shit ton of Disney stock because he was in charge of Marvel when they bought Marvel. And he said, even though I technically don't have a job here, I'm still going to chime in. But beyond that, the guy's like 80 some years old.
Right.
It's like,
but I just think it's funny because they're like, I love activist shareholder Nelson Peltz. I'm like, but you have activist douchebags all over the place and you don't mention that they're activists. They're just on the side of what's right.
Yep, pretty much.
The activists, like this author. Talking about the fate of Hulu. And this is interesting. This was very interesting to me because they basically clarified it and made it and said flat out. They said about what's the deadline? What are you doing about the whole thing with Hulu? Because basically Disney owns 2/3 of Hulu. Comcast owns 1/3. Disney is supposed to buy them out by 2024. And they say that they have the right to put their piece to us. In other words, they can force us to buy them out. And if they do that, we have no choice but to buy them out.
If they do that, I think their stock is going to go down because what's going to happen is they're going to have to shell out how many more billions of dollars for Hulu, and there really is no value add to that because Hulu is not doing fantastic. And frankly, everything Hulu does, you could do it in Disney Plus. They're losing content. And
does Comcast need Hulu?
No. They have Peacock.
That's what I said. They have Peacock. They don't even need Hulu.
They own all the cable.
They could make them. They could. That's. I know. It was like but they can make them buy Hulu, take all their stuff off of it, and put it on Peacock, and then it's even worth less. But Disney had to pay for it.
So Comcast ran the price up on Fox, which Iger bit off way more than he could chew, I think, with that. And that was a huge thing that Nelson Peltz had a problem with because Fox was a waste of money.
It's been the whole time, which we said repeatedly.
And Comcast might turn around and just to buy them some more time to put some space between them and Disney as they build up their theme parks and stuff. Be like, oh yeah, here, you got to pay us another however many billions of dollars to buy out the rest of Hulu. And then, oh, by the way, when you do that, we're pulling all of our NBC content off of it and all of that. Whoopsie doopsie, you're stuck with a pig in a poke, Bob, but you're used to that, aren't you? You're used to that.
We're talking about, this one's funny. One of the ways that Disney is trying to maximize its resources is to increase the longevity of its franchises. How do you not kill the goose that lays the golden egg? And but wait till you hear his answer. Go ahead, you can read the answer, because I keep talking.
The answer is to really continue to fuel it with great creativity, particularly storytelling, not to underinvest. Actually,
you're overinvested, dumbasses.
And to respect the past.
You haven't done that so far.
But also be completely capable of and willing to be relevant by some degree of modernization.
There's not some degree. There's modernization and making a new passing the torch. And then there's whatever the hell Star Wars was. And there's whatever the hell Marvel's been.
Understanding that the world has changed, and while certain stories stand the test of time, others don't, like Song of the South, we got to bury it. You have to be incredibly adept at being able to read the room.
Well, you are adept at reading the room. Bob, you haven't been adept at reading the room before you're gone, and you sure as hell haven't been adept at reading the room since you've been back.
In order to maintain brand relevance, character relevance, and franchise relevance.
Okay, well, the joke is you're not relevant in any of those frames anymore. You already ruined brand. People are tired of Disney. They're tired of your shit. Character relevance, you destroyed most of the characters you had, and franchise relevance. Well, which one? Because you flushed them all on the shitter. Good job, Bob.
It's so creative,
Creatively flushed it.
We're going to do a live action Moana less than 10 years after the movie came out.
7 years.
With the voice actors, like they're literally doing what they're doing on the Star Wars Disney Plus shows and just casting the voice actors in live action roles, in a period of wanting to shrink expenditures, you're still talking about ambitious spending on creativity.
What creativity? Where is the creativity?
If you look at the reductions we're making, they're designed to invest the right amount of money in great creativity.
Well, you're going to start. So you're going to start investing in the future because you haven't been so far.
The more efficient you are at running a company, the more you can spend on what is the most necessary. In this case, it's quality and creativity.
Well, we're all waiting, Bob, because we haven't had that in a while from Disney.
What are the influences on how you curate Disney's output? There is no curation. There is no curation. It's whatever the activist head of whatever division of Disney wants to do. That's what they do.
We want to continue to make programs that don't necessarily fit into one of our core brands, but we probably should make less of them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Actually, well, he's the one who said they thought that there was fatigue for Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah.
I think actually curation is a good thing because it probably forces more discipline on us in terms of quality. Yeah, you definitely need to look at your quality. The more you make, typically you dilute quality, and we're looking into doing the opposite. Well, that would be a refreshing change, Bob.
So fewer bigger things, not necessarily bigger, fewer better things.
Well, I agree with that, actually.
Can you change a company and keep the values?
Well, he wouldn't know.
Because they're talking about Disney being 100 years old, right?
Because Disney is not what Disney was, and I would argue a lot of the values are no longer there.
Oh, that's interesting. Most companies fade away because they've abandoned the core values that created the company in the first place. And we could have a long conversation about that because it does seem like a lot of people are abandoning Disney in droves.
Yes.
We have seen it, and I was actually going to do a blog article about it, and I might do it at some point, but I have seen a marked decline in interest in Disney other than taking pot shots at Disney. Like, I'm not seeing even the Disney YouTubers, the Pixie Dust YouTubers.
Oh, yeah.
Their traffic has fallen off a cliff.
But they're doing negative stories to pick up.
Yes, they're starting to pivot to negative stories. Some Disney websites that were all pixie dust and magic, now they're taking pot shots at Disney, or they're doing stories about completely unrelated stuff.
Well, they aren't probably getting the cupcake parties like they were, so they don't feel like they have to toe the line. But it's funny to me because they're talking about core values. Yeah, in the interest in staying relevant, they distance themselves from the essence of what they were.
What?
Wait, and you're acting like you're not part of that, Bob? You're acting like Disney isn't doing this already, because that's everything Disney has done.
Disney is the poster child for drifting away from its core values. Like, it is.
They were trying to get rid of Disney. They get rid of Walt themselves, they would.
They would. Yeah.
There is a way to completely adhere to those same values, but to present them to the world, to your customers, and to your employees in a much more relevant ways. No, there isn't, Bob. Because the way you're going, and to present it to the people that you want to pander to, you have to completely turn from your core values. And that's what you're doing.
All right. So the very, very end, because they want you to read the whole article to make sure they get all that ad revenue, that sweet ad revenue.
It was interesting. The rest of the article was very entertaining for me.
I cannot let this interview finish without asking you about the situation in Florida. Did you checkmate Ron DeSantis? Well,
no, you did not. You got your ass kicked afterwards. Now they're gonna undo. They're gonna, what are they calling it? They're gonna superior authority you.
That's like Superior Court. Like, we're taking it to the Superior Court. We're gonna, what'd you say, double dog dare you?
Triple dog dare you.
They just did an article a week ago, outsmarting Ron DeSantis. Now they're like, how does it feel to checkmate Ron DeSantis? And yeah, this is a very different tone than he took at the investor.
It's the same. Yes, it is. But he's also getting digs in here. Okay, for those who don't know, I don't know how you don't know this. At the investor call, people questioned Bob Iger about DeSantis, and where he just sat there and basically told everyone that Disney's the largest taxpayer in Florida, and they're suddenly going to create all these jobs they never announced before and spend this money they never announced before until they were he was trying to one up them, and that Florida was swampland until Disney came along in Orlando, but because thanks to Disney there is an Orlando, and all you plebs owe me, and we are Florida. It was his attitude, and there's the same kind of attitude in this though. There is the same kind. He's like turning swampland in Central Florida business that employs over 75,000 people.
Yeah, just so you know your place. Look at all these people that it'd be a real shame. It'd be a real shame if we didn't pay our taxes, Ron. We're
visited by tens of millions of people every year, so other people. And it's a major tourist destination in the United States and for the state of Florida. And that creates huge value for our company, its employees, and for the state of Florida itself. Our sole goal in Florida is to continue creating that value for all constituencies. Except for but if that was your goal, then why the hell did you just do what you did?
Yeah, and then he tries to play humble. All we want is a relationship with the state that enables us to continue to
But you had that. They just didn't let you have your whole stupid town that no one else is allowed to have. You know, they're actually making sure that your emergency personnel have the equipment they need to actually save your guests' lives. What relationship, in what way did you want to continue that relationship? Because when it was set up and it was done and you guys could have worked together, you turned around the day before it was signed and did what you did. And that was what they're like, checkmate Ron DeSantis.
So this is interesting. One, he says that they have the wherewithal to grow Disney. This sounds like they're... So look, we're getting two stories here. We're getting, one is it sounds like Disney's on the rocks and they really need to cut back on spending. The other is, we're going to spend a bunch of money. It's a real shame where we're going to spend billions of dollars in Florida, but now we might not. But I'm like, you have to cut $5 billion just to save your asses this year. Where are you going to come up with the other $17 billion that you were dangling at
right, and it came out of nowhere. I mean, do I think Disney was thinking they had to do something because of Epic Universe? Yes, because they were hinting at D23. But they were hinting at expansions. That amount of money and that amount of hires is a park.
Yeah. And it could be that they're getting ready to announce a fifth gate. I mean, it's been talked about for years. But again, it's a lot easier to add on to an existing park than it is to create a whole new park.
But if their point and their desire was to work with Florida and to help everyone, them and Florida, the people of Florida, why the hell did you do what you did? Because it was done. I mean, yeah, it's like the Reedy Creek got dissolved, but Reedy Creek should have been dissolved years ago, to be fair. But it was set up in a way that they were going to work with you. It was good. You probably could have, as long as you were playing nice, could have worked together, could have got it done. And then you had to go do what you did.
Then you had to be Disney.
Yeah,
you had to go Disney it up.
You had to be petty. You had to think you're smart. You're going to pull a Disney lawyer's fast one. And now you just and then you got out there and basically said you are Florida. So now you just pissed everybody off.
I am the law.
Basically.
Usually, this is what shows you just how disingenuous he's being. Usually you're very much a let's sit down and get past our differences kind of guy, and much less a let's go to the mattress guy. Is there no trying to even meet with the governor? I do not view this as going to the mattress for us. If the governor of Florida wants to meet with me to discuss all of this, of course, I'd be glad to do that. I'm the one that typically has respected our elected officials and the responsibility they have. There would be no reason why I wouldn't do that.
Well, that's throwing Chapek on the bus right there.
Yeah, it is. But beyond that, you didn't think to sit down with Ron DeSantis before Disney snuck in that clause of Prince Charles clause to basically strip them of all their... I mean, that was like you didn't think anybody was going to catch that ever?
Yeah. And the thing is, while it's true, Iger, if he had been in charge, it would never got to this
point. It wouldn't have happened.
He's really good at playing both sides. But yeah, so I respected our officials until, someone asked me about it during a shareholder meeting. And then, I am Florida. And if you're against Disney, you're against Florida and you're against, business and freedom of speech and all this other shit. It's like, please, dude. Yeah.
I mean, then they're talking about him, finding the new CEO, and there hasn't been any real talk of that.
There's been a couple people, but they have a couple years.
They have a couple of years, but I mean, at this point, they got to fix Disney. And look, guys, any hope I had for Bob Iger to come back in and quote unquote fix things is gone.
Well, I didn't have much hope to begin with because he's the one that caused most of the things that needed fixed.
Right. He's basically just undoing his own fuck ups at this point. And, Chapek was the fall guy. And now they can be like, oh, we got to undo Chapek's oopsie doopsies, and I'm going to fire you, and I'm going to fire you. We're going to cancel that. We're going to cancel that.
Chapek said they were going to be getting rid of people. They're going to make a task force to get rid of people to trim down the company. And then Iger came in and did exactly that. So what has he done that was different? He just says it in a nicer way to the shareholders and blows sunshine better? He's better at blowing?
Yes. Iger is a much better blower of the, yes. He's a smooth talker. He's always been a smooth talker. Guy wants to run for office, apparently.
He's 72, so I don't know.
Yeah, you better hurry up. But then again, Biden can get elected. Who the hell? Who the hell knows, right? So we're going to wrap this up. This is not going to end anytime soon. And yeah, it makes me wonder why, Iger and DeSantis couldn't have just sat down and talked it out. But, they both got to piss. It's a pissing match.
That's what I said. It's a pissing match, and we're like all standing underneath it.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up?
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.
Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.